Hi everyone, it's Jeff Mitosu Crafts. Thank you for joining me today and welcome to the Global Stampin Video Hop with the theme of die cuts. Today I'll be sharing with you one of my favorite die cutting techniques using Amazing Thanks dies, artistic dies, and Artistically Inked Stamp Set. I've got basic white card here for die cutting, smoky slate card base and layer. So the layer is only 0.5 centimeters smaller than the card front, or that's a quarter of an inch smaller. So I'll be using the delicate die from the set as well as the amazing word die from the other set. Before we go ahead and die cut those, if you have one of these adhesive sheets, it'll make the sticking of the die cuts a lot easier. So I'm gonna adhere those at the back. So just peel off a panel. Now I'm going to be die cutting the words. So I'm just gonna add those all the way down and then use as paper snips to cut that off. Now for my delicate floral arrangement, I'm actually going to just stick down the center bit. So I'm just gonna add those in the middle because I want the edges to be quite free. So I'm gonna go ahead and die cut those using the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. With the delicate die, I'm going to run it through the machine again, just turning it around a couple of times, just so I know that it's gone through all of the card as well as the adhesive sheets, because you don't want to be taking off the adhesive sheet and still find that there's some areas not cut through. So another great tool from Stampin' Up is this Take Your Pick tool with the brush extension, and it comes with the foam, and just take those excess off or offcuts. You do have the pick tool just to ease off any of those die cuts that hasn't come off yet, but now that is done, we do have both die cuts with adhesive at the back. Before we adhere these die cuts, one of my favorite techniques is coloring your die cut. You can color it with stamping blends, but I'll actually be using stamps to color these two die cuts. So I'm going to use the Artistically Inked and use that to color the top. So using Pool Party, I'm just gonna ink that up and start stamping on top. Now you can use blending brushes as well to add an ombre color on the top, but I'm just gonna keep stamping until the top layer or area is really covered in ink. So there we go. It just adds a nice detail for your word dies. For this detailed die cut, I'm going to use the stamp set again to color those different parts. So I've got fresh freesia, and I'm just gonna color that rose using this image and just lightly add. Again, you can go back and re-ink your stamp until it's covered like so. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the same for the rest of the images, and I'll be using this stamp for the large flower in polished pink, the leaves in mint macaron using the double leaves. I have Blushing Bride and the small circular design, granny apple green for the small leaf, as well as Bermuda Bay. We're independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrators based in the UK, so if you live in the UK, France, Germany, Austria, or the Netherlands, you'll be able to purchase current Stampin' Up! Products from our online shop. Do use the current host code, which can be found on our website at mitosocrafts.com, to receive a handmade card from us the following month, or any extra gifts if your order qualifies in the form of tutorial bundles. There we go, that die cut is now colored using inks, and we have some detailing on the word die cut as well. The amazing word comes with a mat, so I've gone ahead and die cut that in silver foil. But if you do have a word die that hasn't got a coordinating mat, you can die cut the same word and do another technique called offsetting. So you just offset the dies together, and that will create shadow or highlights depending on what you die cut it on. As I do have a mat for this die, I'm just gonna adhere that on the silver foil. One of my other favorite techniques using dies is actually embossing the card base or a card layer. So I'll be doing that on the smoky slate layer, and I'll share with you how to do that with your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So you'll need your platform number 1, your cutting plate, which is the number 3, your craft silicone sheet, your card, your die, and then the other cutting plate there. So just run that through the die cutting machine, and that creates a lovely detail on your layer. Now if you do have more areas that's raised, just use a bone folder to lower it down so it looks more cohesive with the rest of the embossed image. So you do have the other side as well with the debossed layer, but I'm just gonna use the original side that way. And before I adhere this layer down, I'm gonna add some basic black baker's twine across using tear and tape. And then that's just gonna go through both ends, and then just cut that down. And I'm just gonna adhere that flat on the card front. Now with the die cut, remember we have the adhesive sheet on there, so you just need to peel that off. And because it's mostly in the center point, hopefully the rest of the areas will actually come off as well. So there you go. It's nice and easy. And I'm just gonna adhere that like so, bearing in mind the edges of your card base. There we go. So the center area are adhered, but the edges are loose, which is quite nice, and it adds it adds dimension to the card. So with the word die, again, just take off the backing of the adhesive sheet, and you can adhere first letter and then pull the rest of the backing when you're ready to adhere it, because it is a long word, so it's better to be careful with it. But if you don't mind it not too centralized, you can just take off the whole thing and adhere that together. And I'm gonna do a bit of stamping with the happy birthday, and I'm just gonna use memento for that. So use the edge of the ink pad, and I'm just gonna stamp that and then just trim that off. Now you can use your paper trimmer as well. I'm just gonna eyeball it and use my snips. I could have also used foam adhesive sheets to add dimension to this die cut, but I will just add height using mini dimensionals. I've gone ahead and added mini stamping dimensionals on the areas that I can add it onto, and that's just gonna get adhered on there. And for the birthday sentiment, I've added mini stamping dimensionals just above and below the baker's twine. So when I add that, it won't add any more height to the card. So to finish up, I've got some iridescent rhinestone basic jewel. And from the Take Your Pick tool, I do have the sticky putty end. And I'm just gonna add those along here. There we go. And one small one. And that is my card for the Global Stampin Video Hop. Here is another version in white, and I've used the same coloring technique of the die cut, using the stamps on there, as well as using the die to emboss the layer. And for the baker's twine, I've added a bow instead of the strip. Let me know in the comments below which one do you prefer, the smoky slate or the basic white card. Check the description below for the product links to our online shop, as well as the next Global Stampin' video link. Thanks again for joining me today. Until next time, bye!